All right. Welcome, everybody. Doing this in the afternoon instead of in the evening, like I planned on. Um, I realized my daughter has a band concert tonight, and I didn't want to go another week in between the shows, so I decided to do it today. Off today, had the time to do it before I got to go get the kids from school, so here we go. Today's episode is going to be talking about 20 basketball card plays you can make right now. Um, these are going to be raw to grade plays, and the timing should be great on these cards for when you get them back right now. PSA is really slowed down. Hey, Joe, welcome in. Um, PSA is really slowed down. They are running, seems to be around 10 to 12 weeks on the bulk plays right now. I've got a special that I sent in on December 26th, and it is still sitting in step number 3. They haven't even started the grading on it, and we are 7 weeks in. It took them about 4 weeks to get it through and get it checked in. It's still in research and development. Once they get into the grading, they seem to go relatively quick. And then they sit in assembly for 4 or 5 days before the grades pop. And then after the grades pop, it moves pretty quick to getting your cards back. So it is running right now about 10 to 12 weeks, which is much slower than the 6 to 8 they were doing before the backlog. So these plays should give you plenty of time. If you get these plays back in 10 to 12 weeks, that will be just fine. So here we go. Let's see what we got up first. First card up we're going to talk about is, looks like I'm going to do this backwards today. That's fine. All right, so we are going to pull up here a Kobe Bryant. So some of these cards and plays that we're going to talk about today are not necessarily rookie cards. They are just cards that you can make money on. There is one WNBA card, which is a little bit risky because it just came out. But we'll get to that when we get to that. So first up is the 2019 Prism Kobe Bryant card. This card is popular because it is card number 8, which is his jersey number. So therefore, all of the variants from the base to all the different parallels, they all sell well. But for the research I do, I try to find the ones that give you the best profit margins. So this one here is the Orange Ice. As you can see on the Orange Ice, the last sale was $51. And that was on the 10th of February. There have been 3 sales in the last 30 days of this card. The 30-day average is $45, so it's up just a tick from the 30-day average. PSA 9 sells for $135. So there is profit, a nice profit to be had at a PSA 9. A PSA 10 is $325. So some serious profits to be had if you can manage to get a PSA 10. There are only 459 of these cards graded at PSA. 143 of them are Gem Mint 10s. That gives you a 31% gem rate on an Orange Ice Kobe Bryant. You will notice that not all of these, as I mentioned, are rookie cards. So that makes it a little bit easier to get the card. If you're not chasing after the rookies, sometimes they're a little bit easier to find. Hey, Mark, welcome in. Just getting started. We're talking about some basketball plays that you can make. I got 20 of them. Just covered the first one. We're on to number 2 here. All right. Oops, no. Well, for Mark's sake, this is the one we just talked about. This is the Kobe Bryant Orange Ice 2019 card number 8. That is a play that I like. All right. Not sure why this is being a little goofy today, but it is. So we will go to the next one. Next one up should be a Luka. So some of these cards today are a little bit older, so they are a little bit harder to find in good condition. Condition's always going to be the name of the game when we're trying to go raw to grade. But these have high enough availabilities and gem rates that I thought they were worth a shot. So they're the 20 cards that I would target right now. This is a 2018 Prism Luck of the Lottery Fast Break. His silver Prism in a PSA 10 is up to $1,200-ish right now. So not everybody can go out and afford one of those. So this one here was a rookie card of Luka that you could go out, make some money on and not have to break the bank. As you can see, the most recent sale was $42 just a couple of days ago on the 16th. There have been 4 sales in the last 30 days. The 30-day average is $62. As you can see, that big S in the chart that going up and down. So I'm sure condition had something to do with it. So you might have to pay closer to that $60 to $70, maybe even the $75 range to get this card. But that's okay because in a PSA 9, it does still sell for $115. So if you have to pay up to $75 to get a nice quality raw card, you have the room to do it. PSA 9, $115, a PSA 10, $248. It does have a 61% gem rate. So for a card that's a little bit older, that is a very high gem rate, which makes it a good target. All right, next card up should be a LeBron if I am moving down the list right. So this is the Kobe Tribute card. It is the green parallel. As you can see, it's $31 was the last sale. There have been 7 of them in the last 30 days. The 30-day average is $39, so it's down a little bit. But if you look at the last 3 sales, the last 3 sales have all been pretty consistent, $31, $29, and $31. So I would target this card in that $30 to $35 range. PSA 9 of this card is $87, so there is nice profit to be had there on a PSA 9, and a PSA 10 is $195. So again, the PSA 10 is going to show you some real strong profit margins there. And because it's not a rookie card, it's a card that should be able to be had a little bit easier. All right, next up on the docket should be another Kobe Bryant card. This is the same card as the first card, only instead of the orange ice, this is the green Prism. This card has a lower entry point, whereas the orange ice was $51. This one's only $13.50. The 30-day average is $20. So, figure on paying maybe closer to 20. That last sale, you never know what the condition was. But at $20, it gives you nice profit margins there. There's 8 in the last 30 days. And a PSA 9 sells for $43. So you're going to break even on a 9. It's $108 on a PSA 10. So not the profit margins on the 9 that the orange ice had, but much lower entry point than what the orange ice is. So if you want to give Kobe a try and you want to do it on a little bit more of a budget, this would be the card to do it. All right. Next card up is a card that I do not have in my collection. So I am actually going to make this play and try and get this card. I am, as everybody knows, a huge Kentucky fan. I do have a Devin Booker Prism PSA 10, but it is a base, not the silver. The silver has been a card I've wanted, and I just haven't been able to obtain it. But now that I see that this is a quality play, I am going to try and get this and see if I can't get a 10. So the silver Prism Booker, the most recent sale, as you can see, was $40. The sale before that was $45. Prior to that, it was closer to $100. So the 30-day average is $72. I'm okay with, if I had to pay $75 or $80 for a nice clean one of these, I would do it. There's 4 sales in the last 30 days. A PSA 9, a PSA 8 sells for $112. So even if you had to pay $90 and it came back an 8, you're still breaking even on an 8. PSA 9 is $142. So a nice little $50 plus or thereabout profit on a PSA 9. And a PSA 10 is when you hit the home run, $720. And it does have a 47% gem rate. So it's not like this card is, a single digit gem rate or anything. It's an obtainable card to get a PSA 10 in. So if you're going to be bidding on one of these in a live auction, maybe message me because you might be bidding against me. I've got several of them marked right now. All right, let's take a look at the next card. Next card up is, oh, how did that get messed up? All right, hang on. Bear with me. Technical difficulties. Wouldn't be a live show without some technical difficulties. All right, next card up is the Caitlin Clark. I did mention that I had one of these. This is a little bit of a risky move because, as you all know, when a new release comes out, and this just came out a few days ago, cards are always start out very high and then they drop off within the first 30 to 60 days. The reason I'm suggesting this play is I don't think that Caitlin Clark is going to fall off as fast as most other releases. When you looked at Wemby, you looked at some of the really, really hot prospects, it takes quite a bit of time for that to fall off. And about the time her card should be falling off is going to be the start of the WNBA season. And there's going to be a lot of hype around her with all the free agents that they assigned this year. The Fever should be a much more competitive team. So I am banking on the fact that this card is going to hold its value pretty well. But this one is probably the most risky play on here today, just because it could drop off quickly. Most recent sale was $70. As you can see, 70, 67, 62, 70, 66, 74. The card transacts a lot. The Prism has come out. WNBA Prism has been out for less than a week, and there is already 104 transactions on this card in this short week period. It says 30 days, but it's really only been since about a week ago. So a ton of transactions taking place on base Caitlin Clark cards. With 104, the average, as you can see, is $70 so far. So I would be okay with spending, I'd probably be okay spending 80 or 90 if I thought it was a really, really nice copy of it. I'm not going to worry so much about trying to be the cheapest. I just want to get a good, clean copy. If this is like the Prism football cards, the back right upper and back lower corners are going to be very susceptible to wear. So they're going to be hard cards to get graded. So be very aware of the backs of these cards. There haven't been many graded so far. The most recent PSA 9 sold for $255. I do think the PSA 9 prices will fall as soon as some PSA 10s hit the market. I anticipate that 9 will probably be under $100, probably in that $90 to $100 range once the 10s hit the market. So far, there have been 10 of these cards graded at PSA. Only one of them has graded a 10. So that's a 10% gem rate, and that one card has not been listed for sale yet. So it's hard to say what that card is going to go for. But if I had to take a stab in the dark, I would guess that it's probably going to be in that $500 to $600 range for the base card. This isn't the silver, guys. This is the base. But if you can get a nice clean copy, this card could give you some nice returns. Mark says he's been putting in offers for $50 to $58 and they're getting accepted. Congratulations. That's great. Those are some nice, that's a good price range to get in. I'm okay with the variation as well. Anything Prism, even some of the inserts, I think you're going to be just fine, as long as, with anything, it's getting the 10s mark that are going to matter. So you get 10s, whether it's a variation or an insert or a base, you're going to do very, very well on your rate of return. All right, next card up is LaMelo Ball, Ruby Wave. So this is the 2020 Prism. As you can see, the most recent sale was $14.50. The 30-day average is $15.30, so it's pretty close to right on average for 30 days. There's 17 of them, so about one every other day is selling. PSA 9 is $40, so you'd be real close to busting even on a PSA 9. PSA 10 is $119, so you've got yourself a nice little return, almost a 3xing of your money if you can get a 10 on one of these. And at $15, it's not a lot of money to invest to give a few of these a try. 2020 is still a relatively new enough product that you should be able to find some cards in decent condition with that. Somehow my order in my thing got screwed up. All right. So I know what we're going to do here. We're going to go to the next one. All right. Next one up is a Trae Young Silver Prism. This card has really fallen from grace from where it was a few years ago. If you remember, it was Young and Luka that their prices were both pretty steep. You don't have to go too long ago to where this Silver Prism PSA 10 was a $500+ card. That's not the case anymore. That card dropped almost all the way down to 100, but it's been, as he's been playing well, the card's been climbing in price. But the raw, as you can see, is kind of up and down all over the place. You can get a raw one for $16. The 30-day average is $26. So somewhere in that $15 to $30 range is what you're going to pay for a decent copy of the silver. PSA 9 most recent sale was $75. So $25 card to get it graded is not going to be that expensive, and there is profits in a PSA 9, so it's a good one to go after. The PSA 10 is currently at $148, so you can make a nice little return on your investment if you can hit a 10 for Trae Young. All right, let's take a look. This next one, the chart's kind of all over the place. You've got Austin Reeves. So number 3 option currently in LA. On any given night, he puts up pretty good statistics. As you can see, his Silver Prism, the most recent sale was $10.42. The 30-day average is 1068, so 10 to 12 bucks is pretty consistently what you can get this card for. There's 38 of them in the last 30 days, so they're selling over one a day. So it's not a very hard card to come by. However, this one does not have great gem rates. So PSA 9 is 50 bucks. So you're going to still break even, maybe make $5 or $10, depending upon your entry costs. If you get a PSA 9, a PSA 10 on this card sells for 135, but it does only have a 15% gem rate. So be careful on this card. There is a lot of things that can go wrong with a 15% gem rate. I don't know if it's centering, if it's surface issues, if it's print lines. I'm not that familiar with Austin Reaves market. I personally do not own any Austin Reaves graded cards. But it looks like, from my research, this is a good one to try and go after. So just be careful knowing that it's got a low gem rate. All right, now we are looking at a Tyrese Maxey Silver Prism. Tyrese Maxey was one of the players that I was super high on. I still am. The last couple of years, Joel Embiid isn't doing him any favors, but he is the one constant in Philadelphia. That card currently, again, very low for a raw, $14 for silver raw. 44 sales in the last 30 days gives it a little better than about 1.5 a day. So really easy card to find. The 30-day average is $24. So you have a pretty good chance of getting one for 25 bucks or less. Here's the problem with that. The PSA 9 only sells for $30. So this is a risky play from the sense that if you get a 9, this is a card that you are going to lose some money on if it gets a 9. So getting a 10 on this play is essential. It does have a 24% gem rate, so about 1 in 4 are gemming. But if it gets that PSA 10, it's $228. So risk versus reward, to have $40 invested in a card with grading for a chance at a $225 card. And I think that $225 is probably way less than what that card will be come playoff time. Would not surprise me if by the time you got this card back, if that was a $300+ card. So I think that this is a great time to go out and get a Tyrese Maxey. His silver is cheap enough that if you wanted to try and go for the already graded 10, you could do that. However, it just, you don't have the profit margins that you have if you can buy raw and grade it. So that is the downside of trying to just go straight for the 10. All right, next up, we have a Chet Holmgren. So Chet Holmgren 2022 Red Ice. $16 is the last sale. $26 is the 30-day average. And there have been 5 in the last 30 days. You can see the last card kind of fell off. I don't know if it was condition related or if that card is softening. But I would plan on spending, in that $20 to $25 range to buy a nice one. PSA 9 is $40. So much like the Maxey, be prepared. If you get a 9, you're probably going to lose $5 to $10 after fees. The PSA 10 is $72. So there's not a lot of upside in terms of huge profits right now. The reason I put this card on the list is because Chet Holmgren is another player that I think his cards right now are at a low point. And as the playoffs inch closer, I firmly believe that Chet Holmgren is going to have a surge in his card prices. I believe they're probably going to be the number 1 seed, and he is going to be a big contributing factor to that team. All right. What do we have next for you guys? We have, this card has been on the list before in previous episodes. It's still on the list, so that tells you it's withstanding time. You can see the chart. This card just goes all over the board, crazy, up and down. It's leveled off, it looks like, in the last 2 weeks, which is a good thing. Most recent sales, $26. The 30-day average is $30, and there's 42 in the last 30 days. So it's a card that sells a little better than one a day. This silver LaMelo Ball was once a very hot ticket item. I think that he's playing well enough right now. He's going to have a chip on his shoulder for not making the All-Star game. He's going to have some things to prove in the second half of the season. And I think that you could see this card take a nice spike upwards in the next 60 to 90 days. PSA 9 is $67, so there is profit margin left in a PSA 9 if you get one. And a PSA 10 is $282. But again, it's only got a 14% gem rate. So there is a possibility you will get stuck with a 9. And if you do that, you'll still make profit. It just won't be the huge profits that a PSA 10 would have given you. As long as you're turning a profit, that is all that matters, really. All right. Another Tyrese Maxey card here. This is the rookie penmanship Prism rookie auto. A little bit more of an expensive card, $87, the most recent sale. The 30-day average is the same because there's only been one sale in the last 30 days. So this one I stretched out to 60. There are 4 sales in the last 60 days. The 60-day average is $91. So it's about a $90 card. PSA 9 is $191. So if you can get a 9, you're going to double your money. If you get a 10, it's $225. So a little bit better than doubling your money. But there's not a huge difference between a 9 and a 10 on this card. So you are safe with either or and making very nice profits either way. All right, next card up will be the Jalen Green. Jalen Green's having a heck of a year, so is the Houston Rockets. Jalen Green, this is the red Prism to $299. Now, this card's going to be a little bit harder to come by. You got to be careful because there could be some cracked out versions of this card. Being only 299 produced, there have been 172 of the 299 cards graded already by one of the 4 big grading companies. That's CSG, SGC, PSA, and Beckett. So 172. So that only leaves 127 of them that have not yet been graded. The serial numbers, because it's a serial numbered card, if you look up the certs on them, you can tell. If you do your research, you can tell if the card has been graded before or not, because it is a serial numbered. So that's helps you find that a little bit. But this card raw sells for $76. There have been only 2 sales in the last 30 days. Again, because there's only 120 of them left that haven't been graded. You've got a $98 average and $160 PSA 9. So even if you had to pay $100 to get a nice one, you've got profit margin built in at a PSA 9. A PSA 10 is $500. So this, you're going to hit a home run if you can get a PSA 10 of this card. Trying to find that card not graded yet is going to be your challenge. Mark asking me my thoughts on Caitlin Clark select cards. Do you think they will dip? Because then I'm buying them all. Unbelievable gem rates. Yes, Mark, I do think that they will dip a little. They have already. They've dipped about 10%, 5 to 10%, depending upon the card. Since Prism has come out, I don't anticipate a 20 or a 30% dip on anything Caitlin Clark. She is the hottest thing in all of sports. And her name and her brand only got bigger when she turned down the NBA for the 3-point contest with Stephen Curry and Ionescu. That only grew her legend bigger and greater. I don't think you're going to see a big dip on anything Caitlin Clark, but yes, the select cards have a much higher gem rate than the Prism cards. So even if they don't dip much, the select cards might be the better way to go. Yeah, wishful thinking that her stuff is about to drop. Yeah, I think everybody on the planet that's trying to flip cards right now is looking for a Caitlin Clark dip. I don't see it happening, at least before the start of their WNBA season. I could see her cards dipping once the season starts. That happens to a lot of players. So there might be a buying opportunity once the season gets going. I just don't think that is going to happen just because Prism came out, though. Hopefully that makes sense. All right. LeBron James. This is the other. I had the green parallel of this earlier. This is the silver Prism parallel. This is card number 1 in the 2020 Prism. $45 was the most recent sale. I was watching that card. That's a little bit misleading because that card had a major flaw on it. It was listed in the description. So that card sold yesterday on eBay. So I don't think you're going to get one for $45. I think you're going to have to pay $55, $60, $65, maybe even up to $75 to get a nice one. As you can see in the chart, they kind of go from that $50 to $80 range pretty consistently. 32 sales in the last 30 days. So the card is still a very desirable liquid card, about one a day. The 30-day average is $55. That's because there have been a few sales that dip down lower. But again, I believe that when you get those sales that dip down lower, I don't know necessarily that it's somebody sniping them at a bad time. I think I've seen several of these cards that are either way off centered or they have flaws, surface flaws to them. It's a little bit easier to tell on centering on these cards because they've got the dimples on the top, the bottom, the side, and both sides. So you can look at a PSA 10. You don't need a grading tool to check on centering. You can just count the dots or the divots on the card, which is part of the design. So that helps a little bit there. A PSA 9 does sell for $100. So if you had to pay $75 for it, you're only going to break even on a PSA 9. However, a PSA 10 sells for $429. So again, it's going to be a very healthy profit if you can get a 10. But it's going to be not an easy task. So if you can get one for $50, $60, and get it graded in bulk, and you do come back a 9, you can pick up $20 on a PSA 9 if you can buy it down closer to that $50 range. Might not even be the worst play if you know that it's slightly off-centered and you figure it is a 9 to negotiate to the guy and say, hey, it's off-centered. Maybe you can get it for 40 or 45. Hope for the 9 and get a nice little $30, $40 profit that way too. Not everything has to be 10s for you to profit when you're flipping cards. All right. Let's see. I think there's a couple left to go here. So Jalen Brunson is the next one. This is his base Prism. 2018 card number 250. As you can see, this card's only $6 in raw condition. 82 sales in the last 30 days. So this card sells in raw condition almost 3 times a day. So very high populations, very easy to come by. The 30-day average is $5.76, so it's about that $6 price range. So $5, $6, $7, you can get yourself one of these cards. You might want to buy several of them just simply because it gives you a better opportunity to get 10s if you buy in bulk. So let me take a look here. This card here has a PSA 9 of the most recent sale was $30. So if you can buy it for $5 or $6, you got a chance of breaking even on it. A PSA 10 was $83. So you're going to double, almost triple your money on a PSA 10. But there again, I believe Brunson's cards are going to get hot the closer we get to the playoffs. So I anticipate this card going up quite a bit between now and the time you get it back from grading. All right, let me see if there's anything else here. All right, we have, we did the Kobe Bryant green already. Because these cards got a little bit mixed up on me. I have to try and give me 1 second here. Is getting hammered on the 24 Prism football. 2 orders just dropped, and I'm 0 for 30. Well, my Wemby and Caitlin's 85% gem rate, so not the greater, just they hate the cards. Yeah, Mark, I don't know if you missed that or not, but in the last video I mentioned, and I mentioned it in this one, the football cards, PSA has sent out a memo that the football cards are gemming at a very low rate because of the design of the card. The back sides of the cards have the bottom right and the top right corners have black edges and black corners, and they do not show it packed fresh. They aren't great. I ripped open 4 boxes of Prism blaster boxes as careful as I could be, and I only had 8 cards out of 4 boxes that I thought were gradable. I actually sent those to SGC instead of PSA because I wanted them back quicker with my velocity play. Right now, SGC is quicker, so I've been sending more to SGC. I am still sending some cards to PSA, but I am starting to send some cards to SGC because I think the quicker turnaround times with my velocity play will, the little bit less, 20-30% less that I'm going to get with SGC versus PSA, I will get that back by getting it quicker. So we'll see how that plays out. But yes, my grades haven't popped on SGC, so I can't tell you how I did with my 24 Prism, but I can tell you I've got 8 Prism football cards at SGC. They're in the grading stages right now, but it's $12 at SGC right now for their football special, and you get the cards back in 2 weeks. So I thought that was the way to go with the football right now, at least. All right, so bear with me here as I'm going to get rid of some of these on my dashboard that we've already covered. Just want to clear this out so that we so I know which ones we haven't covered yet. Bear with me here. We've looked at that one. All right. So I think I've got a couple here that I haven't shown you yet. So let's see if I can find them on my screen. Here we go. So Jalen Brunson. I just talked about the Jalen Brunson base card. Here is the Jalen Brunson Ruby Wave. A little bit more expensive than the base. $22 versus $6, so a little bit more expensive. a little bit harder to come by is, the base card was selling 3 per day. This card's only sold 2 in the last 30 days. So much harder card to come by and about 4 times more expensive. 30-day average is $25. And when you look at the PSA 9 of this card, you can still profit on this card. It $48 is the most recent sale. Just happened yesterday. So it's about a break even on a PSA 9. PSA 10 is $100. So you have a chance at doubling your money on a PSA 10. We covered Jalen Green. We covered Brunson Wave. We covered the LeBron Silver. Let's see here. We covered a little review. We covered Austin Reeves. We covered Jalen Brunson base. Sorry about this, guys. I'm not sure how this got all messed up today, but it did. All right, so